Hey guys, it's Daimler Koch. I'm here with my cameraman, Ivan Alcala, for the Valley Star, once again, for Monarch Moments. Earlier this week on October 1st, the first and only vice presidential debate was held with Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance and Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz facing off on the debate stage in New York. Today, we're going around asking people what they think of the vice presidential candidates in general, if the debate influenced their views of said candidates, and whether or not the candidates themselves reflect the political tickets for the November election. We're doing this on the onset of the vice presidential debate that happened on Tuesday night.
Yes.
Did you happen to watch that?
I saw bits and pieces of it, but I think I saw the most important parts that really showed me the important aspects of what both candidates were trying to portray.
Okay, what stood out for you and who gave the stronger performance?
Personally, I'm voting for Kamala Harris, and Tim Walz, I think he gave a great speech. His words really moved me. I think that J.D. Vance was not really answering questions. Tim Walz would ask him things and he would sort of deflect and try to say, oh, but this is what I want for the future. But he would not acknowledge the past actions that the person he is running with has done. So I didn't really like that.
How do you feel about both vice presidential candidates?
Well, one is at least competent, and one is kind of an odd guy. I think he's a bit more interesting than Tim Walz, but that does not mean he's, an actually good guy. I think Tim Walz is pretty much way my kind in every kind of policy. J.D. Vance just comes out as this guy who, wrote a book that wasn't really good and it got adapted into a movie that really wasn't all that good. He comes off as, kind of again, an interesting guy, but one that is interesting not because of his good qualities, but because of the opposite.
So how do you feel about the VP candidates in general?
I didn't really know about them until recently, but I think they're both just old white dudes, so that's all I really know about them. I don't really pay attention that much, but from what I've seen, they're both well spoken, and that's about it.
I saw a few highlights of the recent debate that they had, and I thought that they should be the ones running for presidency. Honestly, it's much better than Kamala and Donald, in my opinion. They're much more civil, well spoken, and they weren't as argumentative.
Do you think their personalities happen to capture more of the moderate voters this time around than last time?
I'd like to think so. I feel like during the other debate, I feel like it was very extreme. Trump was really just spewing a lot of extreme statements and not really fact-checking. I think around this time it was a lot more cool and collected, so maybe it wasn't as entertaining for some people. But I believe that at least Tim Walz was really expressing well what their policy is, while I guess, like I said, J.D. Vance was sort of just trying to get more people back in and try to save the mess that Trump made with all those claims that they ended up fact-checking during the debate.
In general, how well do each of the VP candidates represent their party and their policies?
I think they're the more calm versions of, I think they represent the middle of America better, people that don't really take a side too much. It feels more propaganda, but the VPs, they seem more chill.
He does a really good job at reflecting the Republicans today as the parody of Trump, even with, still a sizable number of Republicans turning against Trump, especially after Jan 6th. Tim Walz is, the typical progressive Democrat. He's got all the policy positions that, people can agree with. He's radical, kind of, but he's not that radical.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I promise we'll be back with a more lighthearted topic soon.